dear Thomas Markle, he still thinks that Meghan's going to come around and be the person that he thought he was raising. It's sort of interesting to me that he is so surprised by her behavior. Because I don't know, I mean, what we know just a little bit about the years in which he raised her and how her growing up years were. But it seems to me like nothing that she was doing growing up should have given him the idea and the perspective that she was going to be like this amazing, lovely, giving, charitable, wonderful person. I know they have a couple of little anecdotes about how she used to be kind of empathetic to people in hard times. But that seems like that dried up real good in college and really in high school. I mean, her attitude as a teenager was clunky at best. And maybe he just talked it up to the fact that she was a teenager, and sometimes teenagers can be a little emotional, a little hard to get along with. But he should have seen, I mean, the writing on the wall was clear. But anyway, he is over there biding his time in Mexico, and he has not received his invitation to the wedding. And he tells Meghan, I didn't receive an invitation to the wedding. What's that about? Meghan says, oh yeah, Dad, it must have gotten lost in the post. Oh, Meghan and her clunky lies. Meghan, her creativity when it comes to telling a lie is really limited. Like her going to Harry and telling him, I'm pregnant. And then they're together. I lost the baby. Oh, oops, I'm not. You know, it's just like, what is up with these clunky lies? Or, you know, your letter got lost in the post. I mean, like, what are these cliches? You know, I'm a brash American. That's why you don't understand me. I'm just a brash American. We just have a class of cultures. It's like all this excuse making. All right, well, this lie didn't work for Thomas Markle because he happened to know that Doria had received her invitation, not one but two. She'd been visited by a British consulate officer, and they had given her an official scroll. Fancy. And she had received a formal invitation to the wedding. Talk about a slap in the face to Thomas Markle. And Thomas Markle said about Meghan, well, she's bullshitting me, and this is Doria's work. Again, Meghan tells her Dad, just lay low, okay? Just lay low. Okay, but how long is this man supposed to lay low? Is he supposed to crawl around on his belly like a snake? I mean, how long was this going to go on? And why did he never ask her? Why should he? Like, if I were Thomas Markle, I would have, and I mean, I don't know, we don't have every recorded conversation they ever had. But if I was Thomas Markle, I would say to her, you need to explain to me why I need to stay quiet. Why do I need to be quiet? Why is Doria, why is your mother, why is she not receiving these same admonishments and these same instructions and the same, don't talk to anybody? Like, I would have demanded that Meghan get down to the nitty gritty as to why she wasn't letting me be in her life. This doesn't make any sense. And I don't know, maybe he didn't want to hear what she said. Maybe he did try to ask and she just got upset. We all know why she didn't want Thomas Markle. She thought he was sloppy and ugly and old and messy and just, maybe a bit of a loose cannon. He kind of does his own thing, doesn't necessarily care. She tried to control him before, and I just think that she saw him as a tornado that she was not going to try to corral. Now, I still think it's completely inappropriate the way she treated her dad. I have strong feelings about how she didn't invite him to the wedding, and I think that it looked really, really tacky on her part not to include her dad in the wedding. And I don't care what excuses they had later, he got sick or whatever. She wasn't ever planning on making much of him in her life anyway. She certainly wasn't trying to help him meet his new in-laws. She definitely did not want him at the wedding. But I mean, that's not where it all began and ended. She didn't want him in her life. And she'd been trying to slowly cut him out anyway. In fact, and really, it's interesting, we're just about to get into it, how much she played her own mom in the whole wedding preparation. Because listen here, Meghan is telling her dad, just lay low, Dad. Just don't come out of hiding. You need to not be in anybody's viewpoint. Everybody needs to just forget that you exist. It's for your own good, Dad. Well, some in the palace were puzzled by Meghan's refusal to fly discreetly to Los Angeles with Harry and meet her father. I mean, Harry should meet his father-in-law. This is getting weird because, and oh my goodness, you guys, this is so completely opposite of what was discussed in Spare. Because Doria was in regular contact with Kensington Palace about the arrangements of the wedding, and Meghan had flown to Los Angeles to show her mother the sketches for her wedding dress and to arrange for Oscar de la Renta to make Doria's outfit, a pale green coat and a dress with a matching fascinator. I was astounded when I read that. Because do you guys recall from Spare when Meghan said that she couldn't go see her dad? It was going to cause way too much of a hubbub if she flew to that little Mexican village. And it was just kind of like, we asked ourselves, wait, why would that be such a big deal? You can't fly in and out. Like, are you such a major celebrity that you can't go anywhere? You can't take a private plane. You can't make arrangements. You guys can't meet secretly somewhere where you're at a hotel and then he later comes in too. Like, you're going to tell me that there was no help for you to be able to see your dad? That, oh, but your heart so wanted to, but, fiddly dee, those stupid paparazzi, they just keep getting in the way. Please, there was any kind of security help that she could have possibly wanted if she had said, I really need to see my dad. Harry must meet my father. I want him in my life. I feel like he is getting attacked on every side. Can you help me protect my dad? They've already bent over backwards for her. You're going to tell me they wouldn't have tried their hardest to make sure that her dad was involved in her life and in her wedding? She didn't want him to be, but she can find the time to go meet with Doria somehow. Did she not think that anyone would put two and two together and go, like, well, this doesn't make sense. So you can see your mom, but you can't go see your dad? Like, that doesn't make sense. She doesn't ever feel that she needs to make any kind of excuse for her behavior or explain herself in any way. It's just, what I said should be good enough. I told you I can't go see my dad. I told you it'll be too much trouble. Why are you even asking me these questions? Somehow she could go and fly and show her mom the sketches. If it was so dangerous to fly back to America because she would just be bombarded and put her parents' life in jeopardy. Have you ever heard of emailing the pictures? Have you ever heard of, sending this stuff in the mail? Like, there's any number of ways she could have gotten that same information to her mom if she wanted to show her the sketches. She had to fly all the way. Get out of here with this. Meanwhile, Doria is getting, the royal treatment, literally. And during this visit that she had made to Doria, she didn't even suggest that Thomas Markle should drive up to Los Angeles and they could meet privately. Never even once did it come into her pretty little head. The only arrangements that she had made for Thomas was for him to go to a Beverly Hills tailor so they could take his measurements for a suit. And that was going to be made up in London. This is like... Meghan, maybe this is why your wedding looked like such a mess, because you're having clothes made for people in a completely different continent based off of measurements. That's not gonna cut it. Literally, it will not. How in the world are they supposed to make a suit for a man who is not present and they're making it in another country? What were they thinking? Okay, so Thomas did present himself to the tailors under a pseudonym. And then the arrangements were that he was going to fly to London on May 16th, just 2 days before the wedding. So God forbid anything goes wrong with his suit because there won't be time to fix it. Then he's going to look even sloppier than he already does. Anyway, he is supposed to fly to London just 2 days before the wedding to try on the finished suit. What is this? And then Doria is also supposed to arrive in London shortly before the wedding. Also without time to overcome any jet lag. See, so Meghan is... why would you have your mother come right before the wedding? Why wouldn't she come weeks ahead if you weren't using her as a pawn as well? She's trying to shove her dad out of the way, use her mom as a pawn. It's like, this girl is trying to play chess with everybody's lives. She just thought that there would never, ever, ever be any questions, that no one would ever consider that this was weird behavior of somebody who says that they love their parents, that their dad was always the best. And now suddenly we can't ever clap eyes on the man. No one's ever met him. Because here's the thing. It's like, If you're concerned about cementing your place in the royal family, acting like you have something to hide is not going to help them want to, envelop you into the fold. I would be super scared if my son brought in a girl and she was real shady about her family and wouldn't let us know anything about her family and really wouldn't share and really would be like any time that she could meet him and it would have been legitimate, always making excuses. Like I would have been like, son, let you and me talk together. What's going on with this girl that you're with? This business of Meghan just shoving her parents off to the side all the time, wild. Well, it was clear that Meghan wanted to minimize any chance of embarrassment and was trying to keep her parents off to the side as much as possible. Was she afraid that Thomas might reveal truths about her family that she would prefer left unsaid? Or worse, would Harry take fright once he met Thomas and even break off the marriage? All right, you guys. They're both operating in so much fear in this relationship. Meghan's constantly trying to manipulate so Harry won't leave. It's like, how did you guys think you were ready to be married? Neither one of you knows how to be with the other person. Both of you guys are playing all these cat and mouse games all the time. This doesn't sound like a relationship I would want to be in. And I said this in Spare, In Spare, he doesn't even try to paint her as like a really lovely person. Ever. Which he's not lavish in his praise of her. He can't say anything definitive about why she's so great. The one thing that he ever said about her that was positive was when he was talking about how the staff was falling apart. People weren't coming into work. People were weeping, crying, upset. Depression was everywhere. And he says that she brought them some heaters because the office was cold, and she brought cookies or something and, gave gifts to some of the staff members. And, it was like, yeah, but those gifts were things that she had corralled and gotten designers to send her when they shouldn't have. It wasn't anything that was from her largesse that she decided to hand out expensive gifts. Anyway, that was the one positive thing he ever said about her in the book. But then every other anecdote that included her, she came off just seeming like a complete and total bitch. And this was his idea of her. Anyway, I will never understand why they wanted to get married, because they seem like they're so uncomfortable around each other. I know. She's always clawing on him and pulling on him and petting him and whispering, and he's always got that painful grin on his face. But happiness, true happiness, has never seemed like it was real with these people. Maybe for a nanosecond at the very beginning when they, you can't tell your elbow from your ass when you first meet somebody. You're just in such a fog. But those days of Harry looking genuinely happy and at peace with himself, they evaporated like the fog in the sun. All right, well, there they are getting married, even though both of them are manipulating each other right and left so the other one won't leave. And it's like, why are y'all working so hard to keep each other in your life? If it's this much work on either party, why don't you just move on? All right, well, Thomas is already aggravated. He already feels like everything is off, but then he's even more upset because his family's upset. None of Thomas's other children or brothers had been invited to the wedding. Uncalled for, the former diplomat Michael Markle dubbed Meghan's indifference. He added, I'm upset and surprised. Meghan has climbed socially and left us behind. That's how I feel. Tom Jr. was equally damning. She's torn our entire family apart. Samantha speculated that Meghan was ashamed of white working-class men. Equally disappointed were Doria's relations, especially her half-brother, Joseph Johnson. He had cared for Meghan until she left for college. After Joseph died in 2021, his widow complained that Meghan failed to send her any condolences. Okay, well, that's pretty shocking. How does your uncle die and you never circle back around to your aunt and be like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to miss Uncle Joseph. You couldn't send anything. You can't you could tell one of your staff to send flowers. It wouldn't even have to be that big of a deal. It wouldn't even have to be any kind of pressure on you. Okay, but let's just unpack this bit here with all the relatives all upset. One of the things that I find, and I've mentioned this before, but let's just talk about it a little bit more deeply. One thing that I think is really interesting is how upset they are for not being invited to the wedding. Now, I think that Michael Markle, Thomas's brother, that is a relationship where I am surprised that she didn't invite him, because he seems like he is a upstanding individual. We've never read anything that would make it seem like, ooh, eyebrows raised, that guy was weird. Who can know how he would act? Is he going to put a gun to somebody's head? Is he going to start wilding out? Is he going to start talking to people that and saying things? Is he not going to know how to behave? Like, he's a diplomat. He knows how to engage and how to be. So it's weird that she didn't at least invite him of all the people in the family. That's a weird one to me. I don't understand why the uncles weren't invited, especially Thomas's brother. I don't understand why Doria's relationships all got a pass and why they were looked over. Tom Jr. and Samantha, I don't understand why they're so mad about not getting an invitation. They don't like Meghan. They've made that excessively clear. And one of the things they don't like about her is that they consider her to be a social climber, a gold digger. And they think that she is twisting the arm of Harry and using him and manipulating him and using his status for her own credit. Well, she is doing that, but they've made that abundantly clear and have gone out into the media and said so. Okay. My beef isn't even with the fact that they've said that. Okay, that's their experience. That's how they feel. I don't think it's to their credit to say it, but they can say what they want. Same with Nanaki Pretty. Like, why? What benefit is? I mean, financially, it's a benefit. But if you are telling me that somebody's a social climber and that they're only in it for money, but then you're getting paid fairly well by these different media outlets to say your piece or give your pictures, can you really then come out and say, oh, she's such a social climber, look at her go, look how she's using the people and connections she has to further her cause and to line her pocket, when aren't you doing the same thing? So that's my problem there, one of my many problems. But my other thing is, if you don't like somebody, why do you want to go to the wedding unless you too want the prestige of going to a royal wedding? All right, look, who among us wouldn't want to go to a royal wedding? Okay. But then that's what the problem is. They didn't get invited to what seemed like a fun event, but it's Meghan's event and they don't like Meghan. If I don't like somebody, why would I want to go to their wedding? You know, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here. I'm not defending Meghan in any context. I think that Meghan is a deplorable individual and has shown herself to be absolutely and completely narcissistic. And I say that knowing that that word is overused ad nauseum. But at the same time, she just plows through life and has no care or concern about other people. And I mean, it does not seem to register that she's acting in an embarrassing way. We'll get into that in a little bit. One of the most embarrassing stories I've ever heard. But I don't understand why these people can point a finger at Meghan and say she's a social climber, then get paid for criticizing her, then say, how come we didn't get to go to the wedding? Well, you spent like a year criticizing her, and then you think you're going to get invited to the wedding? Well, that doesn't compute. And also, why do you want to go to the wedding of somebody you don't like? So I completely understand having enormous emotional responses to feeling like your friend had betrayed you, your sister had betrayed you, your niece had betrayed you. I understand why the family and friends have come out against her. I think it feels like I'm not going to let her position silence the truth. If everyone else wants to believe the lie, let me just tell you how it really is. And I won't let her silence my voice. I get the desire to do that. But I just think that it comes off every time. It's like, of course the masses are ready to eat up every little tidbit that Samantha Markle has to throw out to us, or Nanaki Pretty has to throw out to us, or Tom Jr. has to say, or any of these people. It's interesting. It just feeds the gossip mill. But fundamentally, on the human level, as like individuals, Samantha, Thomas, and Nanaki, how did that benefit them? Then I don't know that it benefited their character, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I've talked about that before. But again, why do you want to go to a wedding? You don't even like the person.